asked in the paper, and we will go into detail of every every broad theme, and try to analyze and try to find out what are the major areas from where the question have been asked, and what analysis we can find out, what we should focus upon, and how we should proceed further. This will be very helpful for the individuals who are preparing for civil services and trying to attempt the next year as well. So let us first discuss about the things that have been asked in the paper. So let us first look at the breakup. If you look at the breakup of the paper, if you see the first question, I'm talking about the set A. So if you look at the paper set A, you will see it starts from the economy. Usually economy is one of the major areas where questions are regularly asked. Okay, but this year, if you look at the proportion of the question, only 15 questions have been asked from economy, whereas polity 18 questions have been asked, science and tech 12 questions, history has given huge a large number of questions has been asked from history. And if you look at 23 questions have been asked from history, this is a significant jump when it comes to the proportion of history in civil services prelims examination. From environment and geography, 13 questions each. If you look at the current affairs, not many questions have been asked directly from the current affairs. There can be relation, you can call, there are 17 questions from where the current affairs related questions have been asked. But these all questions cannot be considered purely as a current affairs question, because these are all depend on the static portion. So these are all related to the static portion of the syllabus, and then it has been asked because it was in discussion. So purely only 6 questions can be called as current affairs, whereas 17 questions have been asked from the current affairs, or those questions which have a some sort of base from the current affairs. Okay, but these questions are not purely current affairs. If you have a sound understanding of static areas of the syllabus, you will be able to solve these questions. Okay, so these are how we have divided, and these are the breakup of this year's paper. So if you look at what do we find, we see there is a huge jump when it comes to history. History a paper has been a number of questions have been asked from history paper, and especially if you look at medieval history, a lot of questions have been asked from medieval history, which has hitherto been avoided from the last few years. Last year also some questions have been asked from the medieval history. This year also the proportion has increased, and almost 9 questions have been asked from medieval history. So that is something we need to take into account, because most of the students prepare for ancient history, arts, art and culture, and the modern history. But this year 9 questions have been asked from the medieval history, so one cannot afford to not read the medieval history. Whereas the economy, usually 23 to 25 questions are asked from economy, but this year the proportion has gone down to only 15 questions. And all these 15 questions have, if you look at, they have static portion. So these are all related to static portion. No question can be called purely as a current affairs question. Yes, there are few questions which has been asked in the context of current discussion, but the nature of the question is such that you can, if you have cover the static portion of the syllabus, you will be able to deal with these kind of questions. Similar story with the geography, polity, and others. And of course, the current affairs, science and tech is always based on current affairs. Okay, so this is what the basic information that we got about the breakup. Now let us try to understand, what kind of question have been asked on each subject. What are the learning that we get from that paper? So let's start with the economy, because the first question and first 15 questions are related to economy. Okay, so if you look at the questions, you will see the question have been asked on the static portion. For example, there is a discussion of currency devaluation and its impact. There are two questions that have been asked about the inflation. Okay, so demand pull inflation and inflationary pressure. So how it will create inflationary pressure and so on. So this is, again, you will see this is purely static portion. This is purely static question. There is nothing that you can do with the current affairs with these kind of questions. Okay, until unless you have an understanding and sound understanding of the static portion, you will not be able to deal with these type of questions. Similarly, one can say that the depth of FDI, of course, the depth of the question is definitely increased, and it's not a simple question that have been asked. The fact-based question have been asked because recently the committee has been constituted, and that committee has given a report, and under which various kinds of other things have also been included as FDI. For example, American Depository Receipts, ADR, in the form of ADR, if you are receiving, that is also considered as FDI. So similarly, convertible bonds, so that these are also considered as FDI. So this is, of course, you can say this is the depth of the question is definitely increased, and it is not in a way which is generally taught in the classroom. So depth has been increased, but this is again a question which is related to static portion. Money multiplier, direct question from NCRT. You must cover NCRT. This is a direct question from NCRT. Black money, the question is again directly related to the classroom and the static portion of the syllabus. Bond yield, that is, of course, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the bond yield and bond prices, because GSEP program have been launched by the government, RBI, and therefore the question related to the bond was bound to occur. This can be called as expansion of areas in economy, where so far UPSC has avoided to enter into the bond related question, because it has largely been restricted to the GSEC and treasury bonds and treasury bills, but it has not gone beyond that. But now it is asking about the concept related to bond yield, and that is in the discussion. So yes, of course, it is related to current affairs as well as static portion of the syllabus. Similarly, the questions on treasury bill have often been asked in UPSC, but yes, of course, this time again the question has been asked. RBI related question, that was part of static portion, and in fact, if you look at the static portion, the discussion especially related to the powers and appointment of the governor and so on. So this is related to the static portion. Similarly, cooperative banks, generally this is static portion, but then it has current affairs based also, because there has been significant change in the urban cooperative banks, in the management or regulation of urban cooperative banks. So of course it has a base, a current affairs base, but then this is also static portion. So the question is, if you look at the question, so you will find the most of the question have a static syllabus. Okay, so these have been asked from the static portion of the syllabus. So this is what we have understood from the question. Now, if you look at, as I said, focus have been on the conceptual based issues. Most of the question are not fact based, rather than if you do have sound understanding of the issue, only then you can solve these questions. Of course, there is expansion of areas such as bond yield. That is something where UP is entered. It is found. It is rightly, because currently the government of India is looking for maturing the bond market in the country. So the question can definitely be expected from the bond. So the bond, it can be impact, it can be bond yield, and so on. So this can be considered as expansion of areas of the UPSC. Of course, continued focus on current affairs related question, but static syllabus is must, you need to cover. Direct question have been asked from NCERT. I am continuously and repeatedly, I have been told to the student to do not avoid NCERT. If you look at one question related to the demand of good, that question is directly asked from microeconomics. You can say this has been asked from the microeconomics, but you cannot avoid NCERT. So direct question have been asked from the NCERT. Everyone should cover NCERT thoroughly. So if you look at overall, so what I have found, there are three bases of the preparation for the economy. One is NCERT. You should not avoid NCERT, and you must focus on a static portion of the syllabus that is covered through classroom program and current affairs. So these are three pillars of the preparation for economy to deal with the questions, economy questions. Of course, if you look at the level of the economy question, you will see it is trying to go deeper into the issue. So yes, there are few questions there where you can see it is trying to go deeper, but then there are many questions that have been asked based on the general understanding of the issues. So this is what we have found about the economy. However, I would expect everyone to participate in the discussion. If you want to make comment, if you want to ask some question, you can surely ask the question in between. Okay, but I would keep commenting about. I'll cover the things on theme wise. So this is what we have found about the economy. Now the second issue and theme is polity. If you want to deal with the polity, what I found, the level of polity question, this is a easy to moderate question. There is no tough question except the two question that is related to prisoner's parole and judicial custody. These are two questions which have current affairs based, of course. So these two questions are, I would say, tricky one, but then except these two questions, all the questions were very easy. And if you have covered NCERT and Lakshmikant, even the NCERT, a lot of questions have been asked directly from NCERT. So areas such as parliamentary democracy, preamble, right to privacy, character of federalism, judicial, fundamental rights, directive principle of state policy based question, liberal democracy, constitutionality based question, right to property based question. These are very easy questions. Okay, you should not make any mistake in these questions because you have already covered thoroughly through NCERT, and these are expected to cover. Okay, so and the nature of question is very easy in polity part. So some of the question you will see they have current affairs based, but then again these are related to the static question. For example, the question related to the High Court, prisoners released on parole. This was this was on the basis of the discussion, and last year the Home Ministry sent its advisory to the state government. That's why this question has been asked. Again, the concentration of wealth, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the concentration of wealth, but one could have expected this question in economy part, but then it has been asked in from the polity perspective. So that question. So if you look at these, static question, they have the nature of the question is a static, but then this has been asked in the context of current affairs. Okay, in the context of current discussion, these questions have been asked. So if you look at the level, as I said, it is easy to moderate one. There was not, except two, there are no tricky question in the polity part. So therefore, I would recommend everyone to prepare, your preparation must revolve around the previous year's question. You must cover NCERT. Okay, you must cover class 11, 12 NCERT of the NCERT of the polity. Okay, and of course there is some base of current affairs. You cannot avoid the current affairs because polity and economy are the most dynamic subjects. So therefore, current affairs has a base, but then you must remember the previous year's question. That is question bank, NCERT, and newspaper. These are three pillars you cannot avoid. Of course, Lakshmikant is another book that you must not avoid. So if you cover this part, so you will see the questions, the kind of question that have been asked, that you will be able to cover it easily through these resources. Now history, because this year a lot of question has been asked from history, and emphasis have been made on the medieval India. That is something you see there is a departure in the composition of the question in civil services prelims examination. Earlier, the medieval India has not so much emphasis. It was largely confined to art and culture, but then this year it has gone beyond that. So that is one development. Yes, it will be provided. Of course, these things are provided by the career launcher. One question on location of site has been asked. That is one thing that you can see in history. Modern history. In modern history, national movement based questions. These were direct and easy to solve. So if you look at the level in modern history question, these were easy question, and these were direct question that you can cover through NCERT. So if you have covered class 11, 12 NCERT, you'll be able to solve these kind of questions. Okay. Now there are other questions not exactly based on the historical events. Usually it is the questions used to be asked on the historical events. Okay, but this time it has not been based on the historical events, rather it has gone beyond that. So question from medieval India and question from art and culture, where you can see it is not based on historical events, rather the static question have been asked from the history. Now the one thing that you see that is a significant departure, that 23 questions have been asked from history, which is something we have not seen in the last few years. Of course, history, there is a due weight is given to history, but 23 question, it is almost 1/4, part of the question, a part of the paper has been asked from the history. Okay, should we cover class 6 to 12 NCERT? Kaniska, Kasis, no. Not every paper. You must be selective in terms of, for example, geography. If you are covering geography, you are required to read class 6 to 12 NCERT. But it depends on other subjects. For example, in polity, you are required to cover only 12th NCERT, 11, 12th NCERT. That is more than sufficient. For economy, you are expected to cover 11, 12, and if you are able to cover 9, 10, 11, 12, that would be good. So you are not required to cover every every book from class 6 to 12. It depends on the subjects. Okay, not every subject. Okay, so there is no uniformity, but you should cover one thing that I would urge everyone, that you should cover NCERT. Okay, don't look don't look here and there. First cover NCERT. Once you have a command over NCERT, you will be able to solve question uh, in UPSC examination. Okay, so that's what it is required from every student. And from geography, yes, of course, the basic questions from NCERT, and especially if you have covered class 6 to 12 NCERT, you would definitely be able to solve all the questions from geography. Emphasized, more questions have been asked from the climatology and agriculture. You cannot avoid agriculture, since we are talking about the agriculture revolution. So you have to look agriculture from geographical perspective. You have to look agriculture from economic perspective. So agriculture cannot be avoided. So a lot of question has been asked about the agriculture, and there is also emphasis on climate change and agriculture. So these are closely related to this one. So agriculture and climate change, agriculture per se. So these are the major topics. These are the hot topics that the question will be asked from agriculture in the next few years as well, because we are looking for agriculture revolution. We are looking for um, um, liberalization of agriculture in the country. So therefore, questions are expected from agriculture, whether it is about the modernization of agriculture, whether it is about the science and technology related part of the agriculture, whether it is about the climate change and agriculture, whether it is about the agricultural policy or economic policy of agriculture in the country. The question will surely be asked from agriculture. And let me tell you that you can expect question from agriculture in your mains examination as well. So yeah, more emphasis will be given on agriculture sector now. In geography, there are some current affairs based questions. For example, when it comes to rare earth minerals. So time and again, if in current affairs discussion, I've already highlighted the issue of rare earth minerals. Okay, so this is one of the minerals which is used for manufacturing of semiconductor, and this rare earth minerals have been in discussion because there are speculation that a huge amount of rare earth minerals are available in Afghanistan. But then that is a speculation. But beyond that, there is the kind of technology based 4G fourth industrial. There is a lot of discussion about the fourth industrial revolution, and it is said one who controls the rare earth minerals will control the fourth industrial revolution. So that's why it was one of the important component. Pearl millet, this is of course 2023 has been declared as International Year of Pearl Millet. So therefore, one question can definitely be expected from the pearl millet. So that is one. Climate smart agriculture. These are all based on current affairs. So these are the questions that have been asked in geography. If we solely do NCERT without going through major books like Lakshmikant and Spectrum, no, I would not suggest, but I would say you must cover NCERT thoroughly. That is what I am saying. Yes, of course, you can take the help of Lakshmikant and Spectrum. You must cover those books as well, but the base must be NCERT. Without reading NCERT, you should not depend on any other book, because see, Lakshmikant has of course covered those issues which is mentioned, but if you have covered NCERT, you will be able to solve those questions from NCERT as well, whether it is about history or geography or any other subject. NCERT must be the base of your preparation. Okay, so that is what I was trying to tell you, Akanksha. And regarding the science and tech, that is the same thing. Okay. So one thing that one should do, you should look at the previous year question. Why? Because a lot of things have been, these are repeated. Okay. And these have been repeated over in this year examination as well. If you look at the themes, okay, if you look at the previous year question, that will help you to identify themes. For example, themes such as the question on triclosan, light years, genetically modified plants, LED, DNA, genomes, genetic engineering. These are the themes where the question have been repeatedly asked in UPSC examination. So therefore, you should definitely look at the previous year questions, because that will give you some sort of areas where you need to cover. Of course, your part of your preparation should be in science and tech. You should base your preparation on current affairs. Of course, you should focus on current affairs, because you are expected to know what is going on in science and technology development. So therefore, you should always prepare in the context of current affairs discussion. But in order to identify themes, the previous year question will greatly help you to identify. So look at the themes. The question have already been asked about these things. So you will find out that the base is there. So if you cover the previous year question, so you will be able to identify these kind of themes, and that is what the most of the student avoid. They don't look at the previous year question, and they look at the the question of various institutes. Okay, you should prepare. You should of course look at those questions as well, but you must focus on covering the previous year question first. If you have not covered the previous year question and you are expecting to clear examination, I would say you would hardly able to do so. So I would advise you to go back and look at the previous year question, either whether it is about the mains examination or prelims examination. The previous year question greatly help you to identify the themes. It will help you to restrict your preparation, that what are the area you should cover and what are the area you should avoid. Because in today's world, there are a lot of information provided by various channels and various institutes, but it is up to you to restrict yourself. Okay, and your preparation can be restricted based if you look at your syllabus and if you look at your previous year questions. That is, of course, a lot of question has been asked with related to health. Okay, health related questions has been asked this year. Virus and virus related question has been asked. So because of the COVID, you can understand there will be emphasis from the UPSC, because UPSC is asking the question from the current development, what is happening. So that is one of the area that has been emphasized. Of course, as I said, current affairs play a vital role in science and tech preparation, and that you can see in this year's question as well. So that is about the science and tech. Of course, with related to environment, the similar kind of things that I would say with respect to the environment as well. So again, here things have been repeated. There are many things that you can find out from the previous year question paper as well. In terms of environment, the kind of question that have been asked that requires sound understanding of the static portion of the syllabus. So you must look at the static portion of the syllabus to cover the environment as well as the current affairs. So static portion must be covered thoroughly. That is what it has been advised, and the exam also tells you about this one. A lot of questions this year has been asked with respect to the environmental organizations. For example, question has been asked about the United Nations Environment Program, UNFCCC, UN Habitat, and so on. So environment related organization or environment organization related question have been asked, and this has been the emphasis of this year. So this is what about the environment. See, Akanksha, in order to cover the static portion of the environment, you can also cover the, you can also cover NCRT, but not everything. You have to be very selective in NCRT. But then there is a one book that I cannot name it right now because that is related to one organization. So I would not name that book, but then book is available in the market for to cover static portion of the syllabus, but don't cover everything in that book. So you need to be very selective in that book as well. Okay. So to cover a static portion of the syllabus, there is one book written by some institute. So I would urge you to look at go to the market, and you will find the that particular book with related to environment. You can also cover the NCRT also, but then you will have to be very selective in NCRT. Okay. So current affairs, as I said, there are a lot of students nowadays. They think that if they cover current affairs, and there are a lot of discussion, okay, there are videos that are made available on the current affairs, but I would advise everyone and look at this year's examination as well and this year question as well. You will not, if your preparation is based on current affairs, you will never be able to clear UPSC examination because your concept will not be clear. If your concepts are clear, then the current affairs will help you to, help you to solve the question. So your preparation should be, first cover the static portion of the syllabus and then cover current affairs to give give dynamicity to your preparation. But if you are preparing current affairs and you want to cover your static portion through current affairs, it will never happen. And this year examination has shown it well to the student that unless you have a good and sound understanding of the issues and you have conceptual clarity on the issues, you will not be able to solve any question. If you look at the current affairs, this year's current affair question, not many questions have directly been asked from the current affairs and can be called as current affairs based question. Even though I'm saying the 17 questions have a relation with the current affairs, but then you will not find that these are purely current affairs based question, except the few questions that is related to sports, which was of course a surprise for this year's examination. Okay. Now, if you look at this year's examination, you will find 3 questions have been asked from the sports. Since 2013, no question has been asked from the sports. This was the areas which were completely ignored, and so far it has been ignored. This year, 3 questions have been asked from the sports part. Of course, the major events, we have seen the major events last year, but this year, sorry, and the question have been asked about that, whether it is about the World Test Championship, whether it is about the Olympic, or whether it is about the question related to award to Federer and so on. So 3 questions have been asked from the sports, which were which have been ignored area since 2013. So Harish, it was ignored so far, but this year it has been asked. So now onwards, it is expected, you are expected to cover, because earlier, before 2013, the questions, a lot of questions used to be asked from the sports. So we used to cover those, but now it has, nowadays, especially after 2013, we have not seen questions from the sports, but this year it has been asked, so definitely you will have to include. Okay, so 3 questions, that is not something you can avoid. So of course 3 question is something something which is definitely going to make matter. So therefore of course you will have to cover sports and major events. You will have to cover, because if you look at this year's question, these questions these are all questions related to sports. These are all tricky questions, that I would say. Okay, because you know, this is where UPSC, UPSC had tried, especially if you look at the set 1. These are the last 3 questions. Okay, last 3 questions have been asked with related to current affairs and with related to sports in current affairs. Okay, so there is a tendency among the students that they will, they would of course try to attempt, because they have heard it, but all these 3 questions were tricky questions. Okay, so if you want to cover you should definitely cover major sports and the major events of the sports now onwards. Okay, that is what we have learned from this year's paper. As I said, current affairs without static has no value. Okay, if you have no understanding about the static, there is no value of current affairs. Current affairs will be useful only when you cover the static portion of the syllabus. So if you have covered the static portion of the syllabus, that the current affairs will greatly help you to add value in to your preparation. Okay, that is, as I said, no question except question from 3 questions from the sports. No question can be called purely as a current affairs based question. Okay, even though there is a base of current affairs, but then this can be dealt. This question can be dealt even if you have prepared, if you have a sound understanding of your static portion of the syllabus. So that is the observation with related to current affairs. Now there are something that you can see. There is entry of old themes and patterns. Okay, that we have seen this year's question. Okay, one is of course sports. Okay, but then there are few more there are few other things that you must observe. The one thing is that the assertion based question, and you can say explanation based question. No question have been asked since 2013 with related to explanation or assertion and reason based question. UPSC has not asked this question since 2013. This used to be asked, this kind of question used to be asked before 2013, and this year you can see there is a comeback. Okay, there is a comeback of a statement or assertion or explanation based question. So there is a 2 statement given, and the one statement is explanation of other statement, or the second statement is explanation of other statement, and so on. So this kind of question usually UPSC has usually avoided this kind of question, but now this year the nature of question pattern has definitely, this kind of question pattern has been included. So you must think about now onwards, once you prepare a question, you must include this kind of question in your preparation as well. Okay, assertion and reason based question or assertion and explanation based question. So that is what it has been included. If you look at the question number 97, you will see this is a return, or this is a comeback of this kind of question. There are few things which have been avoided so far, have been included this year. Okay, so question from award. Okay, award, it used to be avoided, but 2 questions have been asked, one from sports award and one from Bharat Ratna award. So 2 questions have been asked from the award. So of course now onwards, if you prepare, you will have to include the award and sports. Of course the question have been asked from the sports, and the proportion of fact based question has significantly increased this year. Okay, usually the UPSC used to be asked the kind of question UPSC used to be asked where exclusion based method could have been very successful, but this year the fact based question has been, a lot of fact based question have been asked where you know if you don't know, even the exclusion method will not help you to identify the right answer. So this kind of this proportion has increased this year. So that is the change, and that is the kind of comeback that you can see in this year's question. There are, of course, there are surprise exclusion, because a lot of questions usually been asked from the schemes, but this year no question has been asked from the schemes. That is a surprise thing, because students usually cover a lot of schemes while their preparation, but then it has been avoided this year. Of course, index related question, a lot of question has been asked in the previous year with related to index and report, but this year no question has been asked from index and report. Not a map based question in geography. In geography, even though 13 question has been have been asked, but not a map based question. Okay, usually it used to be asked from the map based question, but this year no map based question have been asked. Another thing, you will see no question on international relation and international security. Usually while preparing for prelims examination, of course you can say international relation and international security are part of the main syllabus, but then there are few questions that are asked on the basis of international organizations. Okay, international relations part I'm saying. Okay, international organization or international events. So in the context of international events, some questions are usually asked, or similarly some question with related to internal security or defense, and so so many questions used to be asked, but then this year no question has been asked, no direct question has been asked from the international relation and internal security. So these are the surprise surprise exclusion for this year, and this is how UPSC does. Okay, UPSC will never will never give you or will not allow you to predict everything in what is going to come. So it has ability to become unpredictable, and this is how it has been this year also. So this is what we have find out so far. So on the basis of this year question, these are the major find out of this year questions. Okay, so I hope this has this will help you to understand or the kind of question and the kind of preparation that you need to do in future preparation as well. So this is what we have done. Now, if anybody has a question with related to the discussion with related to today's GS paper, you can ask your question. Now, it is up to you to ask question, and then I am here to answer your question. Yes, I am expecting question from your side. If you have any question, you please raise your question. Otherwise, we have already explained what we are supposed to explain. Okay, so this is what we have explained, and this is what the major find out of this year's question. Now, if you have any question, please raise your question. Okay, so thank you for your participation. I hope it has helped you to understand this year's paper, and this will help you to your preparation in order to appear for the next year's examination as well. Thank you.